One of the most popular fitness influencers in the world right now is Sam Sulek. Sam Sulek has his own private home gym I've reacted to over on Garage Gym Reviews, but today I want to help you build a Sam Sulek type gym for his type of training on a freaking budget. I've come up with his most used exercises. I'm gonna give you the equipment that I think you should buy if you're on a budget for multiple price tiers if you're trying to build a home gym like Sam. Let's get into it, baby. I'm excited. Hey guys, this is Coop from the Co-op. Gym equipment is expensive. This channel is dedicated to function, baby. I'm looking to build a home gym for you guys on a budget. If you're into that sort of thing, make sure you subscribe because I have some other videos coming out that I think you'd be into. One particular is a walkthrough that is, whoo, it's epic. It's pretty cool. But if you'd like to see any other videos on people's style of training and building a home gym to meet that style of training, let me know in the comments. And if you like this content, it helps me a lot if you subscribe. A lot of our viewers are still not subscribed, so please do so and hit that like button. Lets me know what you like. Today, I'm talking about building a Sam Sulek style gym in your home. What I'm gonna build is a compactish gym. I think it could fit in a 1-2 car garage, would be really comfortable. I'm gonna start with, I think, the most important piece of equipment for somebody building a Sam gym, and that is something to be used for tricep press downs. Sam loves tricep press downs, does a lot of them. I'm just kidding. I actually have a recommendation for that a little bit later on, but let's start with chest. Chest is a body part that you see Sam work on a lot. He often talks about, and does, you see this in his training, he does a lot of incline movements. He's not doing, I've seen him mention before, like he doesn't do a lot of decline movements, largely because he has a lot of mass below the pec. He's trying to hit the upper chest. Because he's a bodybuilder, he's trying to isolate more. So you're gonna have to have some things, if you're gonna build a gym like him, to do some actual incline work. So first off, you're gonna need a rack. The rack is gonna be essential for a lot of the things on this, and you're gonna want a rack that does a lot. Now, you do a functional trainer rack, they get really expensive really quick, especially when you factor in that some of the movements that Sam likes to do does involve a fixed bar path, which means you're gonna want a Smith machine. I've got a couple options specifically for racks, and this is gonna work for a few different movements I'll talk through. The first one though I'm thinking through is incline Smith machine press. Incline Smith machine press is something that Sam does quite a bit. He also does heavy barbell incline press. He also does heavy dumbbell incline press. I'll get through all those. But the rack I'm gonna recommend, first off, is the EonFit Omni E3 rack. They've got a few different options. The reason I like the E3 rack, it's a good middle ground between a lot of their options, offers what a lot of all-in-ones have. I think it offers it at a better price than what you see from, say, the major Ludies of the world or major fitnesses of the world, and it can do a lot and is priced really good. This one in particular includes your full-on power rack with safety spotter arms, a low-row foot plate, also has a landmine attachment built in. But I think what's most unique about this is it does have a functional trainer with free motion style arms so you can get a greater stretch. But it also has a Smith machine included for $700. I think you can get it a little bit less. I've seen it for less. If you want aluminum pulleys, it's actually $90 more to have all aluminum pulleys, and there's quite a few pulleys on there too if you want something that's a little bit smoother. One thing I want to do on this channel, I've got the comment on this, is like mentioning prices earlier on, so this is that. This is a good option if you're on a budget, but not a ultra tight budget, but you want to be able to do a lot. So Sam's doing a lot of incline press. He's using Smith machines. He's also using barbells. This is a way you can do that. He also uses cables. I'll talk about some of that in a moment. But this is a way that you can encompass a lot of different movements into one rack, and it's going to be able to hold whatever weight you want to hold on it. Now, if you're on a tighter budget, you're not going to have the arms that sway to the side. It's a little bit lower quality. It doesn't have quite as many features, but it's $400, and that is the Run Freely SM010. It's similar in some ways to the Omni E3, but it's only $400, has a Smith machine, has the functional trainer, is plate loaded, is a full rack. It doesn't come with safety spotter arms, which is a little bit annoying, but you could add them on. This is a rack that I think for those that are on a little bit tighter budget, but still want to do some of the work that Sam's doing, this is one that works. Then, obviously, if you're gonna be doing incline work, you're gonna need a bench to lay on. Now, I will say, for budget home gyms, you can go with a really cheap bench. The problem is, because you're on a budget, you're going to be using your bench for a lot of different movements for support. So whether that's incline bench, especially if you're into bodybuilding type training like Sam. So you're going to be doing incline bench, but you're going to be doing incline bench, flat bench, and some decline bench with all different implements. Whether that is a barbell, a Smith machine, dumbbells, you name it. So you're going to want something that's going to support you well. You're also going to use it for military press. You're also probably going to want some attachments to go with it to save some money. And because you're doing bodybuilding type training, you're going to need to be doing more isolation work. Also, you're going to be using it for other things too, like chest supported rows, like cable crossovers with a back support, all those sorts of things, rear delt work with chest support, all those sorts of things you're going to have to be considering. So I do think if you're going to spend money on something, I honestly think that incline bench may be lower than the rack, but it is something that I think you should spend money on because of how often you'll use it and the difference between a really cheap tall bench that's rickety and everything, just not something. But I do have some like serious budget options. One of them's $100. Okay, so the options I'm going to recommend. Number one, there's two from Rep Fitness. Rep Fitness is typically not associated with ultra budget, but I will say some of Rep's lower end benches offer a lot of features that the higher end benches offer, and they're cheaper than most of the competitors. There are companies that offer similar benches to them, but I've noticed they used to be cheaper. Rep is now cheaper than them due to increases in prices from other people. So two of them. The first one would be if you have a stretch budget, the Rep AB3000 2.0, $350. The reason I like this, it does do decline. Sam's not a fan of decline, but you maybe want to use it for ab work or things like that, or maybe you want to throw in decline work. But it is a heavier duty bench. It's going to be able to hold a lot of weight. Sam's lifting a lot. It's got a nicer, wider pad. It's got a grippy pad. It's got wheels. It's a great bench. Honestly, it's the one that Rep made their name on. That bench was the one that they sold forever. They came out with the 2.0, but the AB3000, the first thing I ever reviewed from Rep, like 8-9 years ago, that was the AB3000. And it's still around, still a great bench. I think it's proven. It's heavy duty, it has a front foot post so you can tuck your feet under. It's just a great bench. But if you're on a lower budget, Rep does have the AB3100, and it is $270, free shipping too. That one is a good bench. There's another company called Giant. They make a 2X bench, the Giant Lifting 2X bench. Very similar bench. It does stand up and does have a knurled handle, but it's more expensive. So if you're on a budget, very similar benches, I'd go with the AB3100, $270. But if you're like, I'm on an ultra budget, I just got to get some to get by, I would actually say the Major Fitness adjustable bench, it's not going to be nearly as good as the others, but it does have a lot of increments. It's going to be solid enough for you to get the work done. And so if you're on an ultra budget, that's one I'd look at. Okay, you got your rack. There's a ton you can do with that. You've got your bench. But Sam does like to use machines. And so I don't want to just not have any machines on here. I have a few machines. The first machine for chest is going to be a press machine. You have two options. If you're on an ultra budget, the GMWD press machine. This one, $200. I reviewed it over on GGR. It does do incline, Sam. It does do flat. They say it does shoulders. It doesn't do shoulders. Don't believe the hype. It is one that you can lock into. You can lift a lot of weight on it. Strength curve's nice. It's a good machine. The convergence is not. It's nice. Okay, but if you have a little bit higher budget, one we recently reviewed on this channel, you can go back and see the other video. GMWD 3-in-1 press machine version 7. It is around $600. I've seen a little bit less, but it is out of stock since we did the video. It may be back in when we release this video, but after we do the video, it's gone. But that can do flat, incline, and it can also do shoulder press. I think Sam would be into it. That is a dang good machine for the cost. Again, stretch your budget a little bit. So if you really want to build the pecs, that's an option, but you can get by without that one. Now, I will say something that Sam does a lot at the end of his chest training is pec decks. Man, getting a pec deck, it's not a reality for home gym owners, for the space, everything like that. So what I would say is if you have the nice bench, because you're going to be able to have those articulated arms on the Eon Fit E3, you can get a pretty wide stretch where you can go almost full iron cross and kind of focus this way. I think you could get a pretty close to similar movement as a pec deck. It's not going to be as stable because it doesn't have the fixed arms, but I think it's going to be pretty close for the finishers for Sam. Now let's look at shoulders. So you're going to be doing some dumbbells for both chest, shoulders, also for back. Here's the thing. Sam's really strong. Like, you've seen him do some heavy incline press. you may not be that strong, so you may not need as heavy as dumbbells. But the recommendations I wanted to give were specific for if somebody was as strong as Sam. So this, honestly, this setup could work for you if you get as strong and lift with as much intensity as Sam. But the dumbbells that I'm going to recommend are the Eisenlinks. The Eisenlink dumbbells, the reason I'm going to recommend those, the Eisenlink dumbbells take from the Ironmaster dumbbell. They're very similar look, very similar style, work very well, but they can go very heavy for very cheap. And you can get in very cheap. If you're not very strong, go with a 50-pound set. They're pretty cheap. I think $330. If you go with their 80-pound set, 160-pound total weight with free shipping, $530. I don't know what decade they're in, how they're able to offer that, but that is honestly, in my opinion, one of the best deals in home gyms right now. That dumbbell for that price. Compare it per pound. It's killer. I don't know, dude, I don't know how they're doing that. I really do not know. But while they're up, I would buy them. And here's what else I would buy. I would buy their longer screws. You just buy one set of longer screws. You don't need both sets. You don't want to pay $180 for that. You don't have the money. But you do have $60. So you buy that. You can suddenly take all the plates from your other dumbbell, put it on a single dumbbell with the long screws, and suddenly you have heavy enough weight to do some heavy freaking dumbbell rows. That would be my recommendation. So there you have 80s for press, 150, 160, somewhere around there for rows. Yeah, you're going to be money, baby. But you're also going to need some plates for some of this stuff. You can do dumbbell ladder raise, shoulder press, those sorts of things. You got some machines here. Say if you want the GMWD, you can use that for overhead press. You're going to need a barbell for some overhead press and some of the other movements. You're also going to need some plates for those things, which I'll get to in a moment. But one thing I will say, reverse flies. Sam seems to do quite a few reverse flies. Obviously, you can use dumbbells. Also, another movement you could do is some face pulls. One thing I'd recommend are some basically ankle straps. Because Sam uses a lot of machines, he's able to get stability built into the machine. Something that gets a little bit harder with cables and dumbbells is you don't have quite as much stability. They're free weights. So one thing I would recommend are some ankle straps to put around the wrist. You can put them around your ankles too, but I put them around the wrist. There's a lot of companies that sell these. One of the cheapest I've seen are Fit Griff. They're sold on Amazon. They have a version 2, better than version 1. They're padded, they're comfortable. They've got D-rings so you can attach them to any cables. That's going to provide you some stability when you're using cables for lateral raise, when you're using them for face pulls, just a lot of movements. I think you could get benefit from them, and so I would recommend those as well. Then to back. Sam works a lot of back. Dude wants a barn door back. He's already got it, but he wants more of a barn door back. He wants it to look like a nautical rope. You know what I'm talking about. Everybody wants that kind of back. So he's doing a lot of back training. Obviously, he's doing lat pull downs, okay? Lat pull downs is a necessity. So how are you gonna do lat pull downs? The rack I recommended doesn't have dedicated lat pull down. Technically, you could figure out a way to do it. The problem is you're gonna have to have that single pull. I just don't think it would really work on that rack for somebody that's doing really heavy lat pull downs because you wanna be very stable, and somebody like Sam is lifting a lot of freaking weight. So with that in mind, my recommendation, I've got 2. If you're gonna do lat pull downs, lat pull down machine, first GDLF lat pull down, $165, free shipping from Amazon. The problem with it is it doesn't have, we've got one. The problem is the stretch on it, you're just gonna have some trouble getting to full stretch. You could say this is full stretch, but then there's people that are like, this is full stretch. I believe this is full stretch, all the way up extended. This isn't full stretch. So if you're fine with this, that's what it's going to get you. But there's another one, Yes for All, which is a similar, it's the same thing. It's a little bit more expensive. I would go with GDLF. There's another one from Macolo that has a little bit more height on it. If you're really worried about the stretch, that would be an option. Another option is just getting a lat pull down bar that curves up, the Larry Scott bar, so that basically you're going to be in more of a stretch position, even with a short lat pull down machine. That would be my recommendation. That's a hack, basically to save money. But if you're on a little bit bigger budget, you got a little bit more money in your pocket, I would say the Giant standalone lat pull low row, $530. Actually, very good quality, great powder coat. Giant is kind of a sleeper in a lot of budget stuff. That is one that I would look at too. I think that one's better than the Titan. It's a little bit cheaper than the Titan. It's a nice machine. Aluminum pulleys, very nice for the price, very nice. But then one other option I'd throw out here to kind of consume a lot of this equipment. So if you didn't want to get a lat pull down machine, if you were fine not getting the press machine and a few other options, one thing you could do is you could get the PowerTech Workbench Lever Gym. It is a little pricey, $1,700, somewhere thereabouts. The thing is though, depending on the movements you're doing, that can encompass a lot of stuff. That can replace your lat pull down machine. That can replace your low row machine. That can replace your chest press machine. There's a lot of things that it can do, and it does it pretty darn well. I have a full review coming. So my recommendation is probably have this standalone equipment, but say you don't have a lot of space, or you just want to combine everything into one machine, that's an option that you could look at too. Okay, we come to the barbell. You gotta have a barbell. One, because that's Sam's style of training. He likes training with barbells, but also because you're not gonna have all the individual machines to do this type of training. So the barbell I would recommend, because this is one that I've seen Sam mention he likes, Texas Power Bar, which Texas Power Bar is not a budget bar, but a little bit of a hack. Number one, made in the USA, not, honestly, for what you get and how long these last, they're not expensive. Like for how much you'll use it, for how long you'll have it, barbells are like the best value in fitness, always have been. But Blemish Texas Power Bar, $250. That's a deal. Look for a blemished Texas Power Bar, which means it may have some double track knurling or something, but you don't care, you're on a budget. We're trying to save money. So I'd look at that one. Or Bells of Steel Bare Naked Power Bar. It's gone up in price. It's honestly a little bit more sometimes than the Texas Power Bar. So I used to recommend that one a lot because it was like $200. Well, that's not the case anymore, unfortunately. So I'd look for those. You also have a built-in landmine, but I'd also say do the tennis ball hack. That's a great way to do T-bar rows. Or if you want a landmine, the rack that you're getting doesn't come with it. The Eon Fit does. You can get the Yes for All. They make a, last time I saw it, is $20 in certain colors. Yes for All landmine. It can attach to different things. So that's one I'd recommend. All right, but you're also gonna have to have some plates to go on there. A lot of these machines, they require plates. The bar is gonna require plates. The movements, depending on what you're doing, you're gonna need plates, okay? So honestly, some of the cheapest plates that I've seen, and if you're going heavy, you can't go bumpers. Bumpers are cheaper now, but if you're going heavy on a lot of these machines and like your cable stuff, your barbells, bumpers aren't gonna work, especially cheap bumpers because they're gonna be really wide. So because of that, I think you're gonna have to go with iron. Honestly, cap barbell, the cap barbell, just basic. I think they call them the elites. The elite plates, they're gonna be probably your best price option. They're not the greatest plates. They will chip, but they're cheap. They're slag iron. They're gonna be less than 45 pounds. They're gonna be off. Sometimes they may be a little bit more, pretty much always when I've weighed them, they've been less. But man, you can't beat that price. So get a bunch of those. Load up, baby. Load up, because a lot of these machines are going to take that. All right, and then if you're using your lat pull down, your low row, your Eon Fit comes with some standard attachments. A couple attachments maybe I could recommend. One is one that we pulled out of the mystery box, that video. If you want to see that one, make sure you subscribe. But that is the Aim-A-Dream Double D landmine row. This is a handle that doubles as a landmine row handle, but can also flip around and be used as a cable row handle. I actually really like this handle. The foam grip sucked, but you duct tape those bad boys. It'll actually be a firm, good grip. That's one I would recommend because it's $20 and it's a good handle. And then if you want to do a lot of tricep pushdown work like Sam does, then Yes for All makes a tricep pack. I'll link below along with all this stuff that you can check out. Now to arms, and then we'll get to legs. Arms specifically, he's doing a lot of pushdowns. He's doing dips, overhead cable extensions, things like that. Here's the reality. All of this stuff, rope cable pushdowns, overhead cable extensions, dips, you're not gonna have a dip machine, but all this stuff you can do with the stuff I've already mentioned, okay? Already set up for it. Then, arms for biceps. Well, bicep dumbbell curls. We got dumbbells. Cable curls, you've got cables. Barbell curls, you've got them. Now, I will say, if you want to do preacher curls, which Sam, I've seen him doing quite a bit, that's a unique one. Here's the thing. You've got a few options on this. You could get a standalone preacher bench. The problem is it's going to take up space and it's kind of expensive for one thing. You could get a preacher pad. AbMat preacher pad, $95. That's a good option. You could get a different bench, like say the Ironmaster Pro bench. It's going to be a little bit more spendy than these other options, $400. But you could get a preacher curl pad attachment. That's a pretty sweet option. Regardless, I would say get an easy curl bar and get a rackable easy curl bar. The reason you want rackable is that way you don't have to have a standalone preacher curl bench. That way you can rack it on the rack and you can use it for tricep work and other things too. This one, you know, it's like, this is a little bit of a luxury. You get by with a barbell, you get by without a preacher pad, but I know they're nice, and I know Sam does a lot of preacher curls. So because of that, you could also just add an arm blaster. You know, it's not as good as a preacher curl, but it's gonna give you some tension and allow you to basically stretch the biceps that way. So that's an option too. But if you're looking at a curl bar, a rackable easy curl bar that's actually pretty well made, Xmark Convict rackable curl bar, $150 or less, and you're gonna have a rackable curl bar that's actually very nice, good knurling, and will last a long time. That takes care of your arms, now to legs. Legs is one, you know, like if you're bodybuilding, you're doing Sam Sulek style training, you're gonna want some machines. So here's kind of my machine recommendations. For hack squats, leg press, you're gonna have to do barbell squats. We've got stuff for that. He likes to do a lot of seated ham curls, lying ham curls, those sorts of things. You're gonna wanna do calf raises. What I would look for is a machine that you can do quite a few movements in and doesn't take up a crazy amount of space. One I'd recommend, RitFit Gazelle Pro 3-in-1. It is more expensive, $1,100, but it's gonna give you the optionality for a hack squat, for a leg press, and for a reverse hack squat. Eon Fit also makes one, which we have a review forthcoming. Make sure you subscribe if you'd like to see that one. But that's one I would look at. Also, if you're on a lower budget, one option could be the Makolo leg press hack squat. It's a sled, but it's very similar to the Force USA, but it's a lot less than half, $400. If you're gonna be doing leg extension, leg curls, you got a few different options. RitFit makes their PLC. That's a good option, but also the one that I'd recommend is the one that we've done reviews on. That is the Lions Cool V4 leg extension, leg curl. You can get it for around $400, sometimes maybe less. You can go heavy with that one with their new design. There is deflection on the pad, not quite as bad as some others that I've seen. That would be one I'd recommend. If you want to do belt squats, which I haven't seen Sam do a lot of belt squats, he maybe does. The problem is, like, well, getting a belt squat in a machine in a lot of commercial gyms is hard to do. But if you're wanting to do belt squats, cheap way to do that, Signature Fitness has a $40 belt squat attachment you can attach to your rack. If you want to go a little bit more premium, Revolt has their belt squat for $200. Fringe Sport has their Mammoth for, I think, $300. Those are basically graduated options, but I think you get by with the Signature Fitness. Okay, that is a budget Sam Sulek style training home gym. I mean, if you're bodybuilding and you get most of that stuff, you're gonna have a pretty sick setup. It's not gonna take up a ton of space. You're gonna have quite a few machines, a ton of movements you can do, a ton of versatility, and like the price, honestly, like the price on all that is gonna be, you know, depending on how many plates you get. That's one of the things that's gonna increase your spend. But that's gonna be around $5,000, you know, depending on which options you get. You know, you could, if you get everything, you get upwards of $10,000 maybe, but $5,000 or less, $4,000, $3,000. I mean, depending on what you get, $2,000, depending on how tight a budget you are. I think you can get a good setup with a lot of these recommendations. You know, you're gonna have to skip a lot of stuff, but around $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, somewhere around there, you could have a great setup. And then if you want to do everything Sam does, you're gonna have to spend a little bit more. But this is stuff that's gonna be killer versatility. Okay, that's my opinion on that gym. Let me know what you think. Any other recommendations you think I should have added? I'd love to hear from them in comments. Any other reviews you'd like to see? This has been Coop from the Co-op. See you next time. Peace.